Am I the idiot for turning my daughter's room into an office and throwing away her clutter? Background: we have 3 children. We live in a beautiful but modestly sized 4-bedroom condo in an expensive city. Our oldest daughter went away to college this year. The family decided that it would be best to turn her room into an office, as me and my husband have been working from home since March and it has been difficult for us to balance our time. We told our daughter and told her to take all of her important possessions with her to college. We warned her that we may throw out anything she didn't take with her, and she understood. After she went away to college, we went through and did a makeover of her room. We kept a few mementos and clothing items that seemed nice, but for the most part, we cleared it out. We have moved some storage into her closet and the rest of the house is less cluttered now. Overall though, the room is much nicer now and has been far more productive as a workspace for me and my husband to retreat to. Our other 2 children also occasionally use it for school and studying. She came home for the first time for Christmas break and cried when she saw the room. It strikes me as overdramatic because it is still her room to exclusively use whenever she is home. We have a futon that converts into a bed for her and we don't use it as an office when she is here. She also has said that we threw out too many things, but frankly she's a pack rat. It was all clutter. We threw out clothes she hasn't worn in years, old boxes and packages, old diaries from years ago, even homework assignments, and random old books from as far back as middle school. She says this was cruel, but it was not important stuff and we told her in advance to take anything important with her. Her mood has been sour and rude this whole break and I'm starting to wish she would go back to college already. Am I the idiot? You told her to take every single important thing with her to, what? Her dorm. An apartment she gets to keep for a year? And then you threw out almost everything else? You threw out her diaries? You're the idiot. That stuff was precious. That stuff was a record of her life that her children might have liked to see, and now it's gone? Inexcusable. You're the idiot. That was cold. I get that technically she's an adult. It's your house, yada 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 ... but it's her first semester, her first time away from home, and like what? Was she supposed to fit her entire life into a single dorm room or shared house room? She's supposed to store her summer clothes there during the winter? You threw out her entire life, her whole identity, just for a bit of convenience on your end. You couldn't even just pack up her stuff into boxes, you had to trash it? Terrible. It doesn't even sound like you like your daughter from the way that you write about her. Cold, right? You're the idiot, Op. You not only threw away giant swaths of her past, but you also probably threw away chunks of her future, too. Let's compare/contrast. You threw out a bunch of old kid books, right? Just garbage nobody needs anymore, right? My parents boxed up my old kid books, and tucked them away in the garage. When I had kids, I started getting shipments of those books, box by box. A lot of them are out of print and either hard or impossible to find. I taught my kids to read with those old books. I read those old books to my kids at bedtime, just like my parents read them to me. One of my parents died before my kids knew them, but I can still read my old books to my kids using my parents' funny voices. That sense of history and connection to my parents is precious to me. It doesn't seem precious to you. Hell, your daughter doesn't seem precious to you. Would it have killed you to stack a couple of boxes in the attic or whatever? It doesn't even sound like you like your daughter from the way that you write about her. Cold. Just to give something to compare this to, I moved to another city for college this semester. My dad has had some unstable work for the last 2 years or so because of some risks that unfortunately didn't pay off. My mom doesn't work because she is partly disabled, and also doesn't have enough experience in her field, not as some but close. We have no income but live in a big house. My dad used to have a big income, so my parents decided to rebuild part of the house to rent out. They chose their own room, biggest in the house, and their office room for this. They had to move into the guest bedroom, smallest in the house, get a new, smaller bed, from which my mother has fallen out twice this week, and donate a bunch of clothes as they didn't have their big, walk-in closet anymore. What does this have to do with this post? I'll tell you. I came back home this Christmas, just as the work started, and suggested that they make my room, second biggest, their room instead, and move my stuff into the guest room as I won't live here full time anymore. They straight up refused. This is what my mum told me: "I'm sorry you and your little brother have to suffer from our failure to set up a secure future for us. We don't want you to have to sacrifice in our place." My dad, less skilled in saying emotional things, basically said, "I don't want this to not be your home anymore." I dedicate this to my parents, who have fed up a lot in their parenting, and I mean a lot, and don't always do what's right for us, but did their best to become better, try to learn from their mistakes, and always had our best at heart. They proved that they love their children and always want what's best for them, even if they have to sacrifice themselves for it. Can your children say the same, Op? Sounds like they can't even say with confidence that you love them, much less that you would sacrifice for them. Or perhaps it's just your oldest that you have such little regard for. Either way, you're the idiot. No question about it. Not because you decided to utilize her room, but because of how you went about doing it. Am I the idiot for not allowing my siblings to use my washer and dryer anymore? So I, F19, got to move into my first apartment in September. I have 7 siblings, but they all share the same dad and I have a different dad. My dad has a high-paying job and he bought my apartment and said he was going to cover all the payments, and in return, I go to college and maintain good grades. Which seemed like a fair trade to me. My siblings dislike my father as they blame him for their dad and our mum divorcing. He and my mum divorced 8 years ago. They never wanted anything to do with him, which is fair, but I never liked how they badmouthed him to me. So when they learned he bought me an apartment, they were upset because I got an easy way out. They started to come to my place because it has a washer and dryer and they save money by coming to me rather than paying $6 for one load of clothes. I live fairly close to my siblings, so it was nothing but 10-15 minute drive for them. It was fine the first few weeks, but my boyfriend and I finally get to have our alone time, and it isn't exactly the best thing when we get comfortable and in comes my sister or my brother or one of my brother or sisters-in-law with a basket full of dirty laundry needing to be done. Only 3 of them have emergency keys as they're the ones that live the closest. I simply sent a message out to them asking that they give me a heads up before popping in. They don't listen. I never got my own privacy growing up and didn't like the idea that this would continue. So this past Monday, I got my locks changed and didn't tell them. Today, my sister-in-law apparently tried to get in while I was out and noticed it was changed. So I explained I did change the locks and didn't plan to give them a key until they respected my privacy. They're upset and thinks I'm being spoiled and selfish. They once again bring up how I don't get how hard life is and they felt like I was being an idiot. I kind of see why I'd be an R, but not a lot. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. After the first time someone doesn't respect the terms of having your keys, they should no longer have those keys. Your request was more than reasonable and you were being very generous to start with. At this point, Op is being disrespected and walked on by her family. Doesn't matter how she came into the apartment. Life isn't always fair and they want to drag her cause she was fortunate to have a dad to help her out. She was generous to offer. Let them use her appliances. Boundaries are now being established. Not the idiot. I think it's so weird that they would just show up. Sometimes I'm at my apartment in my undies, or showering with the bathroom door open, or doing my own laundry. It would be hella obnoxious to have to worry about someone busting in like that at any moment. Are you a little spoiled? Yes. You are. I am too. Don't worry about it. Does that mean everyone else is entitled to your belongings just because you didn't have to put your own blood, sweat and tears into getting them? No. It fucking doesn't. You are still an adult human being with the right to privacy and respect. AITA for yelling at my dad 51M and calling him a monster for what he gave my sister 30F as a Christmas gift. My 28F sister Amanda 30F never met her bio mom. My dad 51M raised her alone until she was barely 1. My dad and my mom got married in 1992. Amanda knew that my mom wasn't her bio mother. She started pressuring my dad for information on her mom when she was around 17. My dad always gave her vague answers and refused to talk about her bio mom, which put a strain on their relationship. Enters our uncle, 49M, and revealed the family secret. Apparently, Amy's mom wanted an abortion. She was 19, but my dad and his parents were able to bribe her. They offered her money if she followed up with the pregnancy, and she accepted. My grandparents sold one of their houses and gave her half of that money to Amy's mom when the pregnancy was viable, and the other half she received when she waived her parental rights over Amy to let my mom adopt her when she was 4. My uncle wasn't supposed to tell her that. My grandparents were furious. Amy stopped her crusade to meet her bio mom and her relationship with my dad went back to normal. Amy never mentioned her bio mom again. A month ago, Amy found out that she was pregnant. The pregnancy was an accident. She switched birth controls. The problem being, Amy is about to start her surgical residency and her hours are insane. It is basically impossible to raise a baby while working in that rhythm, so she wanted an abortion. The problem is that Mark 35M, her fiancé, 6 years together, wanted her to keep the baby. It caused a big fight. In a DCK move to convince Amy to keep the baby, Mark told Dad about this. Until that point no one in our family knew about this. Dad talked with her and they got into an enormous fight. Amy got the abortion 10 days ago. Mark ended up breaking up with her. She is obviously really sad. My dad was acting like a jerk. He was pretending that Amy didn't exist. He didn't want to talk or see her. So on Christmas Day, we were exchanging gifts. When everyone had already finished giving each other gifts, Dad got up and gave Amy her present. He gave her an envelope in front of everyone and told her to open it. It was 3 pictures with something written on the back, a name, an address, and a phone number. Dad told her that he was tired of babying her, that this is a photo of her bio mom and her 2 sons, that was her bio mom address, and that he contacted her bio mom and she is willing to speak with Amy. He gave her Amy's number. Dad thinks that they will have a great relationship since they are so similar. Amy broke down crying. I ended up in a fight with Dad, called him a monster for doing that to her. He just said he was just tired and left. We ended up leaving and she spent the rest of Christmas crying on my shoulder. She is a mess since that. My younger brothers called me a Grinch for making a scene and ruining Christmas. My mum was silent during the whole thing. My parents have been giving me the cold shoulder since Christmas. AITA here. Edit, Amy is short for Amanda. Op has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. My dad is not acting like himself since the fight he had with Amy before she had her abortion. He is normally very chill and non-confrontational. But since Mark told him about Amy's pregnancy, my dad turned into a totally different person. He clearly gave her gift in an attempt to punish her. He knows that her bio mum is a really sore topic to her. She never speaks about her anymore, not since our uncle told her what happened, and she's already a mess since Mark broke up with her. They have been together for 6 years and they were supposed to get married this year, before COVID fucked everything up. To make things worse, Dad gave Amy's number to her bio mom. She is absolutely scared of talking to her. Her phone is on airplane mode since that. But my brothers think otherwise. They think Dad gave her something that she always wanted. My mom surprisingly has been silent during all that mess, which probably means she doesn't oppose what Dad did, which is really surprising since she is normally very sensible. To top it off, my brothers have been really annoying, saying how I just had to ruin Christmas. My dad and my mum haven't talked with me, or Amy, since Christmas, which means we don't know if we are invited to our family night celebration, which pushed me to wonder if I was indeed the asshole. Not the idiot. It sounds like you and your sister are the only ones not acting like a-holes here. Here's why every single other person involved is an a-hole. Her ex-fiancé is an a-hole for trying to use her father to control her. You all's dad is an asshole for berating her about something that was none of his business and then using Christmas as an opportunity to further lash out at her. Your mother is an asshole for standing by and not saying jack shit while he did it. Finally, every younger brother who thinks you're the issue here is an asshole because you're clearly not the one that made a scene. That would be your father, not the idiot. You made an excellent point about the situation. In point 2, I would add that he deliberately waited for Christmas Day to criticize her in front of everyone. I'd also add, Amy doesn't owe her father anything for existing. Her life isn't a gift from him or something he purchased by pressuring and bribing a young woman, her mother, who obviously wasn't ready to have a child. The fact she was born doesn't afford him or anyone else the right to control or dictate how she lives her life now. The circumstances of her birth have no bearing on her right to bodily autonomy or her right to make her own decisions. Amy wasn't ready for a baby. Her body, her choice, her life, it's that simple. The father is a monster on this one. His behavior is abusive and babying her here is code for controlling her. If I were Amy, I'd be exercising my right to make my own choices by ending my relationship with my father. I feel the same. This father does not deserve to be called a father, and the mother can be crowned as the most spineless of them all. What a terrible and dysfunctional family. You are not the idiot. I'm glad Amy has your support while she heals from this attack by basically both of her parents and ex's betrayal. She did what she needed to do for herself, and I hope her healing excludes her parents. Oh my God. Women are not baby-making machines. Whatever their views on abortion, your father had no right to rub her decision in her face. He clearly has no respect for women, something that your brothers seem to have inherited. Good on you for standing up for your sister. You're not the idiot. You're a wonderful sister and a badass, not the idiot. That was one of the ugliest stories I've read in a long time. Oh, you're tired, sir? What a crock of shit. Your father is vindictive and cruel. Even if he's always been close with Amy, he's clearly transferred a lot of unhealthy feelings and expectations onto her. He clearly thinks women and our aspirations are no more than our wombs. He thinks he did Amy some type of giant favor by coercing her biological mother into giving birth. Newsflash for your dad. No one made you have a baby that way. He first withheld info about her birth mother, then presented it in the worst possible light. She took the money. We don't know her mother's circumstances, and given how your dad is acting now, I would bet he was ugly about it. I would bet he's always thought Amy owes it to him to live up to some made-up, unspoken expectations to not be like her harlot mother. GAG. The fact that he planned this as a Christmas ambush makes him a bad person and father. He has an ugly heart. He just kept it hidden until now. I'm sorry. Finding out a parent you previously thought was trustworthy and supportive is a huge blow. It's like death. This isn't the same as discovering your parents are people. So don't let anyone try and convince you of that. You and Amy just take care of each other. Also, encourage Amy to hear her bio mum out. I would bet her story is very different from your dad's.